Brittany with Classy Cakes by Brittany, and today we're going to make a basic white cake. First step, you need to set your oven to 350 so it can heat up while you're making your cake. We're going to take 2 sticks of butter and we're going to put them in our mixing bowl, and we're just going to mix those up really quickly, and then we're going to add our sugar next. Just sprinkle all the way around so it makes it a little easier to mix. You can also use an electric mixer, or you can use a bowl and a spoon. That works just as well, but this just makes it a little bit easier for me, so I like it. I'm going to kind of scrape the sides of my bowl, and I'm going to get all the edges, make sure I've got everything on the bottom so nothing is left out of the mixture, and then mix it up a little bit more. I'm going to take the egg whites and mix it with the milk with a fork. It gets incorporated pretty good. After you mix in your milk and your egg whites, just set that aside. Okay, next we're going to take our dry ingredients, which is our flour, our baking powder, and our salt, and we're going to combine that in a separate bowl, just kind of like we did with the wet ingredients. Then we're going to take 1/3 of the dry mixture. We're going to pour that in with our butter and sugar. We're going to set that aside for a minute, and we're going to take half of our milk and egg whites. Pour that in, just going to kind of eyeball it. We get about half done. I'm going to add another 1/3 of a cup, and then we're going to add the rest of our milks and our egg whites. And I'm going to just kind of scrape the sides and go kind of get the bottoms, make sure everything is incorporated well. Now we're going to take the rest of our dry ingredients and add it. Another option is to take a little wire whisk, if you have one, and just take 1/3 of a cup at a time, or however much you feel comfortable with, and just kind of sift it in there. That way it's going to have less clumps and make for a smoother cake mix. Pour the bowl in. Let's be real here. But you want, depending on your mixing bowl, if it seems like it's too much, like it kind of is from that bowl, you might want to take a break and mix it in between while you're adding your dry ingredients, just so it doesn't all go up in a puff of smoke, basically. Or flour powder. Okay. And on this other side. Oops. And then you make a little bit of mess and it's all good. Just keep on going. Don't get discouraged, don't get upset. A little bit of flour is going to be okay on the side. Then we'll do our final mix in. So you know, have a little bit of a puff of smoke there from our flour puff cake. And I'm just going to take a minute and get the sides cleaned off again. Make it look all beautiful in my bowl. Scrape the sides, make sure you scrape the bottom. I want to make sure that nothing's left behind. Everything gets mixed in there really well to make this nice and smooth, and the taste wonderful throughout the whole thing. I always make sure I scrape that off. You don't want to waste any of that batter. Here's the consistency. This is about what you want your cake mix to look like as well. Now let's get our pan ready to bake our cake. I like to get a piece of parchment paper and then a pencil and some scissors. Yeah, I bought the kids' scissors today because who knows where mine are. Just take your pencil and trace around your pan really well, and then set your pan aside, and I'm just going to grab your parchment paper, and you can just cut that circle out. And what this is going to do for you is this is going to make it so when you put your cake in there, it cooks, and when it's done you can turn it over and it's going to fall right out, and it's not going to stick to your pan, which is wonderful. Alright, as far as cooking your cakes, I showed you how to do the parchment paper. I just used the same circle, did 2 more so that I can do a 3-layer cake. And then you just throw those in there, and I like to spray a little bit of cooking spray in there, and also maybe a little powder bit of flour before I put my cake mix in there. And yeah, you can do 1 cake, you can do 3, you can do 4. But I hope to show you some different varieties of stacking cakes or just 1 plain cake. Alright, let's get our cake mix in our pans. To eyeball this, because I don't know an exact science on how much per pan. Paper kind of moves around and wiggles and shakes, but that's okay. Just kind of want to make it as even as you can. And then a trick that I learned from, I don't remember who it was, is you kind of give it a couple little slams to try and get some of the air bubbles to the top. Or you can set it on the side, and if you notice that your batter's a little bit airy, just drop it a few times and that will help bring up the air bubbles to make your cake a little bit better. All right, now it's time to gently put your yummy cakes into the oven. It's been preheated to 350 and it's going to cook for 35 minutes. Okay, well the cake is done. It's been out for a little bit. What I like to do is transfer the cake onto a cutting board. It should just come right off. Oh, it's still kind of warm. This is our awesome parchment paper. And then you just peel off your parchment paper and you have this awesome clean cake. And then I'm going to let it cool for a few more minutes. And then what I like to do is I'm going to have to turn it back over because this is going to be our flattest side. And we'll cut off the top so that it's flat and we'll wrap it in saran wrap and freeze it.